Hi, everybody. It's at Skating PJ, and we are live with another great broadcast. We're going to be joined shortly by Doug Haw, who is the highest ranked coach in North America, which I didn't know. He has master's certification in the US in skills, free skate, and moves in the field. And in Canada, he is a level 5 coach, if you can believe it, one of only 10 in the country. So he started off his career, of course, as a skater, and then he briefly was in judging and then moved along into coaching. He's a technical specialist. He's one of the people who helped create the moves in the field for the United States. He's a governor on the Professional Skaters of America, I think it's called. PSA, and altogether a super interesting guy. We're going to talk about coaching back in the day all the way through to the present on both sides of the border. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. While I'm waiting for Doug to join us, I just want to let you know that on Thursday, I'm going to be hosting a Lodge Ball Day. One of the most outstanding show skaters that there is, not to mention outstanding human being. He's going to be here with me on Thursday. And then next Tuesday, I am going to be hosting Brian Orser and Tracy Wilson. How is that going to be for an interesting conversation? I think it's going to be just absolutely terrific, and you're not going to want to miss it. Okay, Doug Haw's calling me. Let me see if I can just text him and see what's going on. He was downloading the browser when we were last in touch. So we're just gonna wait and see. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions or any comments, any ideal guests that you would love to see. So Doug says you're watching us. That's great. Are you able to send us in some questions? And did you get the link? Because I can send it to you again. Just really looking forward to talking a little bit to Doug. If any of you want to be in touch with Doug, then this is actually his contact information. He is at hawskate@gmail.com, and he's on Instagram at Douglas F. Haw. And I can be reached, of course. Here's my social media information, and I would love it if you would follow me on Facebook and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is being simul broadcast on both YouTube and my Facebook page. So Doug's here. Not sure why he's there in the comments and not here, but nevertheless, let's get started. Anne Monahan is here. We've got a whole bunch of people who are already watching. Doug, I'm going to show a couple of pictures, and I'd love for you to respond as soon as you see them. I first of all want to start with, okay, young Doug. Okay, there's the guy on the left with the ubiquitous one-piece jumpsuit that there was back in the day. A fuzzy picture in the middle of I'm not sure whom, and then you as a dancer in a dance team with the caption that you had handwritten as I really did skate. Yep, he really did skate, people. So let's take a look and see if we've got any comments. Okay, so Doug is on his cell, and he can't hear us. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, I think that maybe what I should do is let's chat a little bit about skating in general. Those of you in the audience can perhaps respond to the pictures because I've got some great old-time pictures, and then we will figure out a time to really talk to Doug. So what Doug's saying right now is that his mom made that outfit. I hope you're talking about the one piece. Who was the lady in the middle of that fuzzy picture? That's what I want to know. Let me show it to you one more time. Looks like it was maybe a carnival costume. I'm not sure. So let's just take a look at that. For those of you that are new to skating, there are lots of different ways that you can become involved with the sport. You can, of course, skate, and that doesn't matter what your age or stage. It's a wonderful sport to stay active for life. You can get into the judging stream and become an evaluator. You can be an official in some other way. There are the data specialists who are the ones that used to be called accountants back in the day. And then, of course, there's just as a spectator, as a viewer, just enjoying the sport. Who couldn't Love that. So it turns out that the lady in the middle was Doug's first coach, Dajan Redzel. I don't know Dajan, but she obviously got you started on the right path. So as we know, Doug is the highest ranked coach with the highest ranking. So as a level 5 coach in Canada, one of only 10 in the sport, what that means is that he really is a master in terms of coaching. What I can tell you is that there are lots of levels to coaching. This is one of the things that I really wanted to show people. First of all, here's some of the aspects of coaching that I really like. The little wee ones, and then a picture of Doug and Brian Orser in the middle doing a seminar. And then it looks like Doug at the side of the boards getting ready for a competitor to compete. So there's lots going on in terms of coaching. I'd love to hear from those of you out in the audience about who's your first coach, or who's your favorite coach, or who do you like to watch when the TV camera is taking a look at people. But Doug, I want to hear about you and about the fact that here you are with a young skater, somebody obviously at the beginning of their career. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy, just one sentence to say what your philosophy is in coaching. And for those of you that are watching, I want you to give me one sentence about what you love about skating. So while I'm waiting for that, let me take a look at some more coaching kinds of photos that Doug has. This is Doug and his good friend Brian Orser getting prepared to do a seminar, and both sitting in equal parts as coaches and former skaters and lifelong friends. Doug also has seminars that he's performed with Kurt Browning. That's a picture of the seminar in the center, Kurt on the left, Doug on the far right. And of course, those are those two really good friends. When you have the kind of coaching chops that Doug has, you have a chance to really have an impact on the sport of figure skating. As I mentioned, Doug was somebody who helped create the moves in the field in the United States. And here is something that you might be interested in. Doug, as part of the Professional Skating Association in the United States, and just the impact that you can have as part of a board that is continuously involved with figuring out sort of where skating is going and where coaching is going as well. So those of you that are listening, any of you got any great stories about Doug? I'd love to be able to share them, since he's not with us, but he's actually with us as one of the audience members on this particular Facebook Live. If Doug is somebody that you know, and I know lots of you people do know him, because I sure know that I've known him for way longer. Let's just put it this way. My mom, who's a former national level judge who's now passed away, but she and Doug were on judging panels. So that's how I first met Doug. They were friends from judging before Doug even became a coach. And while I'm thinking about judging and coaching and all those other things that happen, in the rink, I've got some pictures of some legends for people to be able to just enjoy. Doug's asking me for help. I'm not really sure. Here's a great comment from one of our regulars, Mark Hadley. Hey, Mark, an influence over the year for many coaches, saying thank you to Doug. Absolutely. I feel like I'm kind of that lady on public television who likes to be talking to people, but really talking to themselves. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I am going to see if I can resend Doug the link, because that'll be better for all of us if we actually have a chance to talk to him. So just standing by, talk amongst yourselves in that little box on the side there with all of the comments. And let me just see. There we go. If I can resend the link. I wish there was a way for me to cut out this sort of middle part. But in the meantime, why don't I show you a couple of, here we go. I'm just sending it back. So Doug, the link is on its way. Okay, So while I'm waiting for Doug to hopefully join us, here's a couple of pictures that I want to show you. Do you guys have any memories of these people? Let's put them out here. So we're looking at Ellen Burka and Doug Hall on the left. I cut out Doug in order to be able to squish this photo together, but that's Lewis and Mary Jane Stong. And then Osborne Colson on the right, all huge coaching legends. So anybody got any memories about Ellen, Lewis and Mary Jane, or Osborne Colson? I know that our good friend Ryan Stevens, who runs Skate Guard blog, he has a really cool blog coming up with one or more of these coaching legends. So you're going to want to make sure that you're taking a look at his blog to make sure that you can sort of sign in on what he's doing. Here is another kind of photo. I'm going to replay these when Doug comes in of some more legends. Top left picture needs no introduction. That's, of course, Taller Cranston. Top right, Doug Haw and Kurt Browning. A little known fact. You may not know that Doug was able to coach Kurt Browning and Brian Orser in some of their professional careers. So that's kind of a cool thing. And then it looks like everybody is in matching gowns, dressing gowns, at the lake. There's a few faces that I'm sure you'll all recognize, and everybody seems to be wearing skates. If I were them, I of course wouldn't jump in the water on my skates because, well, it's hard to kick. But anybody else got any pictures or anything that they can really think about where it comes to skating legends? We have so many in this sport. It's absolutely outstanding. Taller Cranston, of course. Um, can any of us help? Catherine Parr. That's a lovely thing. Doug's got the link. I think he's trying to figure it out. And if not, we'll just continue our conversation for another few minutes and then I'll just reschedule it another day. That's the best part about all of this stuff online is that it doesn't have to just be today. So anybody got any ideas about some other people that they'd like me to try and interview? I tell you, this has been the most fantastic pandemic project that I've had. Um, and that is the chance to be able to talk to so many legends. I mean, Liz Manley, Jamie Saleh, just who haven't I talked to? I mean, there's still many more for sure. I'm going to try and put the finger on Elvis Stoico, for instance, to talk to me. And I can think of just huge numbers of skaters and champions with whom I'd like to have an interview and a little bit of a chat. So if there's anybody that you can think of, I'm always looking for suggestions. So feel free to send me a comment or a suggestion if you think that there's somebody that you'd like to see me interview. As I mentioned, this week I have on Thursday a Lodge Ball Day coming up, and then Brian Orser and Tracy Wilson on next Tuesday. You know what, Elizabeth Cardoso Taylor, I love the way you think. Doug Wilson, of course, legendary TV guy. I'd love to be able to interview him. I'd love to be able to interview Sandra Bezic as well. She doesn't know that yet, but I'm coming for her. And then Sandy Kovacs, Brian Orser. Guess what? You get your wish next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I'm interviewing Brian Orser and Tracy Wilson together. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. And Joanne Shaw, don't you worry about being late. You're not the only one. Ha! Ha! That was my little joke. Okay, another great interview idea. Bruno Marcotte, who wouldn't love to interview Bruno? I mean, I interviewed his better half, Megan Duhamel, and their beautiful baby Zoe. I just want to squish her. And that was just a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to put up a link soon about where people can find reposting of all of these different interviews. They're all located on my Facebook channel, on my YouTube channel. Guess who? Da 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 da.
Yay.
Hey, Brian. I was just talking about Brian. I've just been, I think it's called scamping. I've been scamping, I have. Scott Moyer. Yeah, Elizabeth, I'm on it. Thank you so much for joining us. This is wonderful that you're able to be here.
Well, thank you for having me, PJ. Of course, I couldn't get my computer to fire up. I feel like I'm 100 years old, but thank God for this little cell phone that I'm on. And that's exactly how we're going to be able to chat and share some crazy stories today.
That's wonderful.
I did hear the beginning of the broadcast, and you did mention your beloved mother. And I have to tell you, and everybody needs to know that First of all, everybody, PJ looks like her mom, and she's almost as smart as her mother.
I
Her
wouldn't say
mother was one
that.
of the, and when I was a young kid judging, and I was kind of like the first coach to be, or sorry, the first skater to be accelerated as a coach with Skate Canada back in the day through Joyce Heisey and Jane Garden. And so I was like 19 years old, and I was a gold test judge across the board. And of course, because I skated and I wasn't going to school at the time, I was able to, take judging assignments. And of course, one was with your mother in Montreal, and we flew together to Montreal to judge. And back then, your mother was, of course, Mrs. Elliott, and I was all nervous because I was flying with Mrs. Elliott on the plane, and we went and we had judged. Was obviously dances, and the dance tests were not going well, and your mother was. When she got frustrated judging, one leg would cross over the other, and then she'd about 2 minutes later, the next scale, then she'd cross the other way, and then her pen would start tapping the rhythm of the dance on the clipboard, which drove me crazy. And at the same time, I was like, oh dear. So all of a sudden, I can remember one girl came out, and she was in blonde hair, white dress, and she looked immaculate. And back in those days, you had to have 9.4 to pass a gold dance. So, of course, I can't believe I can remember this, and this is like
by 2 judges, right? You have to have 2 judges.
And then, so your mother's looking at me, and there was another judge from Quebec who I can't even remember, but I was obsessed with your mother at the time, and she looked at me and she went, oh, and grunted something, and I looked at your mom and I said, well, look at how beautiful she is. She's got 9.2 without even moving. So anyway, I was a Viennese waltz, and I thought it wasn't too bad, so I gave her a 9.4. And back in those days, the judges would go around, somebody with the summary sheet, someone would say, I gave them 8.8, and I went 9.4. And your mother looked at me and she threw the pencil at me and she went, I'm 8.6. So all the way home, so on the way home, your mother said that I was buying the wine in the plane, and I thought she was joking. Well, we sat down, and let me tell you, I was the first time I drank myself into a personality with somebody that was the same age as my mother. And your mom and I became great friends after that.
Yes, you did.
And I used to go down to your mom and your dad's place. And of course, your mother always introduced your father as, Doug, why don't you come down and have a glass of wine with my first husband and I? And so I told my mom, I went, Mom, I have a new friend. And my mom's like, oh, really? I went, yeah. I said, Mom, and she's the same age as you. I have my first adult friend. And your mother was the first person that I ever called by their first name, like that I had called Mrs. Elliott or by their surname in those days. So, and of course, I have many, many more stories with your mom, but obviously the best one was when I saw her at Skate Canada before she passed, and we still had a glass of wine and we still shared stories, and it was something that, a memory I can always cherish. And so for you to continue on her passion for skating is truly wonderful.
We used to laugh about the fact in latter years. First of all, Joanne Shaw also remembers my mom, which is great. Thanks, Joanne Shaw, for that. She would get a chuckle out of all of this. But one of the things that was so interesting was that sort of at the start of my skating career as a coach, I was Grace Elliott's daughter. And then as things progressed and I started to do much more media stuff, she became PJ Kwong's mother. Yeah, which right. was hilarious. Okay, we need to know, what are you doing? Are you getting snacks? Why are you moving your phone?
I don't know.
Okay, there'll be no more touching of the phone, Doug. I think you've got your hand on your microphone.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Okay, there. You're perfect. Perfect.
Well, now I can hear it again. Can you hear it?
It's all good, everybody. I'm just getting a little bit nauseous, but that's fine. So we brought up some pictures. I want you to talk about the solo that you must have been doing in this moment on the left.
Okay, well, that was My mother, of course, made that outfit, and it was my taller Cranston imitation because he was the first one that had those big yoke things, and that was a lady's jumpsuit pattern, and it even had darts in it. So there you go. I had darts in my first outfit. Yeah, and I have to tell you, I loved that outfit, and I used to partner dances, and the girls would hang on to the straps, and at the end of the dance, I'd have to pull the strap back up because they'd pull the straps down when I partnered their dances back in the day.
You needed boobs to hold on to hold the straps up, obviously, and that wasn't going to happen. I want you to respond a little bit
Right.
to these.
Well, I used to. Sorry, I used to. Then I got smarter, and my mother, of course, put safety pins in and pinned the straps up because she didn't like it that the straps were coming down when I was partnering.
I have to tell you, we all know Dr. William Bridle, who back in the day would always skate at the North Bay event. And the North Bay event, his mother made his outfit as well, except that it was one of those shirts that snaps underneath the crotch and then pants on top. So he was at what we laughingly referred to as International Make a Date to Skate in North Bay. And his mother had run out of time and didn't put snaps in the crotch in order for the shirt to stay closed and to stay, fitted. But she did put safety pins. And during his warm up, he told me, I will never forget the story because the image just makes me laugh. Bill Bridle, if you're watching, we're talking about you. And the safety pin opened during his warm up, which of course was then painful. So all you could see was this little boy, he was maybe 10, at the side of the boards, trying to sort of pull his pants down and sort of adjust. It was just ridiculous. So what the boys had to go through, even Mr. Galbraith, Sheldon Galbraith, I wrote a long bio about him, and he used to do, he used to have to wear tights, like leotards, but have to cut the foot out because there was nothing like a legging or like a fitted type for men that could fit over a suit. So the men have always had the challenges where the costumes are concerned. So
you hear all that static?
you are a little bit staticky. Are you close to a speaker somewhere? I've got an idea. You don't happen to have earphones, do you?
I do.
Try putting them in because that might make the difference.
Okay.
I love these broadcasts because really anything can happen. I'm going to put this up while he can't see. You're right, Joanne.
I'm really sorry.
Please don't worry about it. I like the poster in the background, by the way, the lucky star. Oops. That's not good.
Oh. What did I get?
There. Did you have your earphones in or no?
No, I can't find where I plugged them in my phone.
Try looking on the bottom. Try looking on the bottom of the phone.
No, I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get my pots.
Okay. We're going to follow you throughout your apartment. It looks great.
Okay. Well, it's a bit of a skating gallery, though.
I'm sure.
Oh, boy.
Okay. I think that might be better.
Yeah, here's a Sonia Henny.
Yay! Wow.
There's a Sonia Henny.
That's beautiful.
This is from Taller, a spiral that I asked him to paint this actually, this spiral, and of course on the back of everyone that because Taller brought these for framed them for me, and of course this was called the Grand Spiral from one who could only fantasize about it. And are you there?
Yeah. Yes. If we'd been able to be in time, I could show you.
And then of course I love from this is the, and here's a Sonia Henny poster that I got from Brian Orser that he bought at Taller Cranston's sale way back before Taller was when he moved, was leaving Toronto, moved to New York, or part of the moved to Mexico. And these are Taller paintings too. And and here's a scarf of his that I had framed. And what else do I have of Tallers? There's another Sonia Henny poster. This is a good Taller. This is the last one he gave me to Doug, much love Taller. This was at Worlds in London.
Beautiful.
And then of course I have a Holiday on Ice poster, another Taller. But anyway, enough of that. So you can hear me
skate in a
perfectly
show?
now?
Worked perfectly. That made all the difference in the world.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
no.
not saying anything that interesting. Can you hear me now? It's all right. Take one out, maybe.
I can't hear you.
Take one out. One out.
What did you say?
Take one out. Yeah. No, take it out. Hold on.
No. I'm really sorry.
It's okay. Tell me about
This
this
has turned
picture.
into the Gong Show.
Tell me about this picture.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
How did this happen? How
Okay. Hold on.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
What does it say? Take one out.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
I got one in. I heard you for forever.
Okay. And now? Yeah.
Okay.
Cindy's saying the same thing. Thank you, Cindy.
Take an earplug out. Well, I took it out.
Okay. Can you hear us now?
Out. I have one in and one out. And
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
Don't be embarrassed. Who are these
what
people?
to do here.
Okay, Doug. Here's what we're going to do. Doug, here's what we're going to do. Can you hear me?
Now I'm lost.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, why don't I talk about perhaps the difference between coaching in the United States and Canada?
Great.
Okay. So everybody the big thing here is that Americans, when they are skating, they to an American, second place is the first loser. So they want to win at all costs. And I again, wearing my Canadian heritage proudly, Canadians just want to participate. Americans want to win at all costs. And I think it also comes down to the patriotic flag. The Americans see the flag and they become an American and they do anything for their country. Whereas we hear the national anthem here at the start of every competition, whether it's 7 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, you hear the American flag. And when you, pardon me. And so when you become an American here, you really become a real citizen of the United States. Whereas I believe in Canada, you keep your nationality wherever you come from. So it's not as tight as an American. And I have a great story about being an American. I was at an international competition back in the 90s, Skate America, with a skater, Colin Vanderveen. And the great American coach Kathy Casey had the American champion Scott. Um, I'll just drew a blank. I'll think of his name. He coaches in Calgary.
Scott Davis.
There, that was Kathy Casey.
Yep.
And he was falling all over the ice in the warm up. I couldn't do a triple axel, couldn't do a triple Lutz combination, nothing. And instead of giving him, like when he came off, to wait his turn, and I thought she was going to tell him technical and some information. And Kathy took him Scott by the scruff of the neck and said, "You get out there and you skate for your country. You're an American. You be a proud American. You get out there and you show them how an American can skate." Well, he went out and he skated perfectly. So, yeah. And then the other thing that's the big difference, I think, is the test system. Here in the United States, they still have 3 judges for every test except the preliminary test. And so there's still that aura of test day that you have to dress up, that you're going to be nervous, that you're try to perform your best. And in Canada, as you know, if you're less than, I think, star 5, your coach judges you, which I'm completely in disagreement with. And then you only have one evaluator in Canada. And I've seen the test system, having been a former judge, where you basically have to fall down to fail, because it's the tests are the judges are very lenient. So here, tests are, everybody gets nervous, everybody works harder before the test, whereas in Canada, it's just, you can't tell. You can't tell it's a test day. You just test whenever. And then the higher test days, they don't have the same kind of aura or the same environment. However, I still can't hear you.
That's okay. What does level 5 mean?
What does level 5 mean? Okay, what does level 5 mean to me? Well, level 5 is kind of a culmination of all your education in the system, whether it's technical, theory, practical, and you've gone through all the necessary learning curve to be a good coach. As we all know, you run through the technical part where it teaches you, where you would learn how to teach, whether it's dance, synchro, pairs, or singles. You learn how to teach those jumps, and you learn about programs, and you learn all about how to train them. And then until you get to level, and you know the rules, and then when you get up to level 4 and 5, when you do all the different tasks, that's where you become more in tune with psychology for the skater, psychology for the athlete, training at altitude, learning about why you picked music for a skater, why you did the choreography like this, why you picked the costume. And so it covers all the facets of learning to be a better coach. Besides just bend your knees, $20, please. You learn exactly about some physiology and psychology and how it applies to the skater. And I have to say that it's definitely made me a better coach. And to know exactly that, how an element is created from a technical side, what muscles are involved, what training to train that energy system is involved to train a program, what psychology you have, how you have to breathe during your program, like where are your breathing spots, where do you breathe before jumps. It just gives you the tools to be a better coach. But again, at the end of the day, there are coaches like a Brian Orser, who is a level 3 coach, but he has the innate ability to be able to speak from a skater who did it. And he's able to say the skater feelings and the skater technical point, because he did it. He basically did all the jumps that he's teaching, and except obviously he did a quad toe, and he just didn't perform in competition, but I've seen him do many quad toes. And the biggest thing would be that he is able to do is that, you know, at the end of the day, you have to produce. It doesn't matter what level you have to be able to produce. So the level 5, to circle back to your question, the level 5 gives you a little bigger toolbox, but at the end of the day, you still have to produce. So here's Brian with a level 3, but his toolbox has big experiences that he can recall on from his day. And he's also able to be one of those coaches that he did it and he can feel it and he's able to understand what movement or how did that happen and how it was created. Whereas a lot of world champions are great skaters, but because they were so talented and because it came so easy to them, they just don't have the skills to be able to explain it to other skaters. As you know, Brian is one of the very few world champions that ever has produced a world champion. And when you look back, it's probably him and Ingo Stroyer was a world pair champion in 80 or in the 90s, 98 or 99, and he had Rene and you know, the other Czech champions. But those two are. But Brian is kind of you know, a unique person because he was one of, like I say, one of the only world champions to produce a world champion.
So let me ask you about
really neat.
Let me ask you about this.
And I still don't have any volume. Okay, what did these coaches teach you? Oh, like
these coaches.
Okay, so of course, I've been around the great coaches, the Ellen Burkas, Louis and Mary Jane Osborne. Ellen Burka, her greatest thing was she was a disciplinarian. And in this day and age, why aren't skaters working hard is because there's not enough discipline. And to all the parents that are watching, I think that kids are bubble wrapped nowadays, and they are parents are becoming friends with their children. They're not parenting anymore. There's no consequences, no boundaries. And again, I'm speaking generally, so I don't mean to upset anybody, but I'm being honest. Because I've coached now 40 years as of July the 1st, and to me, the skater now is not being held responsible for their actions. So in my day, if we failed at a test or didn't perform well in a competition, it was like my mother would say, I didn't work hard enough, I didn't train hard enough, I was lazy. Whereas nowadays, if the skater doesn't perform, the coach is the first one to go, oh, Susie, don't worry, we'll get you another coach. And the other thing that kind of changes things today is that when I say bubble wrapped, besides emotionally and physically bubble wrapping them, I think physically kids wear these crash pads that are the size of hockey pants now. And they look ridiculous. And to me, when back in our day, when there weren't crash pads, if somebody fell down, well, you know, if I fell and kept falling on my hip, I better listen to my coach to fix my jump. Or as a coach, I better fix this kid's jump so they don't keep falling on the same spot. So I think that nowadays crash pads are a license to fall. Like it's like you're just letting the kids fall. So I make every kid take their crash pads off in their lesson because I said, like, first of all, you've got to get your nerve up. If you're afraid to jump because you think you're going to fall, then we might as well not jump today because you have to be a risk taker. You know, those little Russian girls, you know, that are doing quads, they're not worrying about falling. They're more concerned with the glass being half full. That I want to land this sucker. I want to get this job done. Whereas a lot of North American kids just don't want to fall and just don't want to hurt themselves. So back to Ellen Burka, she taught discipline. Osborne, of course, was the creator on the right-hand side, the creator of movement. What Osborne taught transitions into jumps way before transitions were a part of the scoring system. I can remember when Patrick Chan was in his infancy, Osborne would teach him every different entrance into every jump. So that's why I think because he taught these great skating skills, and of course Patrick was doing rockers and counters into like when he barely just could land a double loop and a double flip jump. And so I think Osborne's credit was he definitely could make a soap purse out of a sow's ear because he could make any skater look good. He really could. He called it toning. And anybody that watched Osborne, choreographer program, they truly were a piece of art and beautiful. And Louis and Mary Jane, Louis to me was the best at the team coaching concept back in the 70s, when he would bring in people besides himself teaching elements. He would bring in Valerie Bartlett. He would bring in Sandra Bezic. And then when I became a coach, I can remember asking him, like, okay, so now I'm going to finish my skating career. I'm going to join the show. And he said, oh, no, because, I was just had been promoted to a national judge. He said, no, Doug, with your skill analysis and your personality, he said, you're going to coach with me. And so Louis taught me how to be organized. He taught me how to seek out help, how to be resourceful. He taught me appreciation for music. I had to learn a lot of music and pick out a lot of music with them. And Mary Jane was, to me, she taught me how that you still, at the end of the day, you have to have your goals. You have to still show warmth and love to your skater. Mary Jane, I would say, you have to. If she was listening right now, I would say Mary Jane taught that your athlete has to know that you care about that you care about them as a coach before they will care to listen to you. So because Mary Jane, I knew she cared about me a lot. Sorry, what did these people mean to you? Okay, so Mary Jane, yeah. So she taught me warmth, and I would try harder for Mary Jane because she, I thought she truly loved me. What was the question? Again, what did these people? Sorry, PJ.
Oops. What do these people mean to you? I think we may have lost Doug, everybody. Oh my goodness, I'm so disappointed for everybody and for me and for Doug, because I know he really wanted to do this. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set up another time for us to get together and to be able to continue this conversation. There's so much more to talk about. So I'm going to get him in remedial live stream training and get him all figured out. And then we will see you guys again another time. Please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and that you follow me on Facebook and same on Twitter. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now, everybody.